amazing. This is like such a huge part of this entire swap and figuring everything out. What's up, guys, and welcome back to the channel. This is going to be a good one for the S15. I've been traveling a lot, so this build has kind of gotten sidelined. It's been really hard to work on it since I've pretty much only been in town like maybe one day max a week, and then I'm just gone. So every single time I'm here, I'm like catching up, and then I bounce again. I've been filming my Helping Hands Garage TV show. We just got back from Ireland for the LZ World Tour. I'm now doing demos in the RTR Mach-E 1400. So there's just been a lot going on, but I'm going to be back here for pretty much the next month, mostly, and there's gonna be a lot of progress on the S15. However, I just got back in the country from Ireland, and I guess Drift HQ has been secretly modifying the S15, and I didn't really know what they were doing, so I'm getting back thinking we're gonna finally get back onto that project, and there's been a lot that's been done. So we're about to go into Drift HQ and get all of the updates from Chris and Cricket. I'm really excited to see where the car is at, and then we'll jump right back into that project. Every time, Pete knows that Mimi's food is on the ground somewhere, so he just beelines it right for the food. Is that what he's doing?
He's been working hard, you know? He needs the food.
He's been sleeping. They started working on the S15. Our plan was to start like today, but the entire time I've been gone, they've been making so much progress.
We got bored, and you had race car parts.
We ripped all our engines out of our running cars and sent them to the machine shop, so...
I was about to say, Marte's engines kind of went kaboom, but they had a lot more free time on their
preventative maintenance. They didn't actually go kaboom. We took them apart to check on them because it's been like 4, 5, 6 years on some of them. So we sent them out to get the machine shop to look at them, and they were gonna go kaboom.
No holes. Oh my gosh, already I can see the pink from underneath.
Yeah, we weren't sure if we were allowed to reveal that yet. We just mocked it up so we would know how much clearance we have down there. Walking through the updates, but already this is a very special intercooler from Yoshimoto. It's their newer carbon fiber intercoolers, which are so freaking cool. And I knew we were going to be putting one on this build. I also really want to put one on the Street FC, but this is the first time I've seen it in person. You should have seen the box it came in. It was like a whole plastic gun case with like foam and everything all packaged around it, and then it was in a box.
This thing is sick.
What you gonna put in there? It's worth buying this intercooler just for this box. Yeah. I'm just saying.
Ooh! Look at that. Carbon fiber. They got some like billet end caps that strap them in place.
Wow! I've never been more excited to open a car part before.
Let's just start here. So, intercooler mounted.
Intercooler, we have our upper and lower mounts made. Bottom one we put a bunch of dimple dies on for. The Yoshimoto is really cool because it comes with these rubber insulators for the top and bottom, so it's not 100% hard mounted, so it'll still absorb some of the vibration. You know, keep brackets or anything like that from breaking. We did the lower intercooler piping. We made the little bulkhead plates up here. So there's actually an HD clamp on the bottom and the top of it, so the intercooler piping is made in 2 separate pieces.
You guys did send me photos of this.
Yeah, we were talking about it before, and we were seeing if it's going to work out how we wanted it to, and it ended up working out perfect.
So we got the good stuff. Got those vibrant HD clamps. So that's going to be plenty of give.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it's got a lot of wiggle
silicone coupler on the end.
Coupler on the bottom as well, so if anything does happen, like the coupler would be more likely to let go than it actually tear anything, you know, apart. So there is a lot of flex down there still, thankfully.
Which we were kind of wanting to keep that front of mind for a drift build, because if something gets pushed in or if I tap anyone, then...
You gotta remember, we're gonna build you a really cool bash bar. You're just gonna mess everyone else up.
Yeah. That's
like Andrew Mauer's bash bar. He can run into anything he wants to.
Yeah, they're like big old billet clamps that hold these end pieces on that have set pins to them that hold the end tanks on. So
I was wondering how they did that.
If something ever does happen, it seems like you could actually just replace one of the end tanks instead of having to replace the entire intercooler.
And we have our Yoshimoto oil coolers.
Yep, so those are our 2 oil coolers. They're mounted down to the lower radiator support. So now the intercooler, everything is in place, and we have figured out a place to put our 2 engine oil coolers. Because, you know, Rotary's like hot oil.
Yeah, they love hot oil.
Yeah. Structural brackets, they lap over on the front there a little bit as well. So it's going to loop from the engine into here. This one loops over to this one, then this one returns to the engine. So we have 2 oil coolers for the engine to try and keep everything from, you know, catching on fire.
Wow.
So we had to do it this way and not the OMD 90 because of the pitch of the motor. This came out like this. Before we even put the HD clamp on it and attached anything, the hood wouldn't close.
So the 2 options were either use the straight throttle body adapter or cut a big hole in your hood, and we figured you would opt for not cutting a hole in
your hood.
So originally we wanted to use this from OMD because it's machined where it keeps all the airflows still sort of redirected separately, and it fits on the exact way that this is here.
It does have a blend.
This?
It has a merger inside
Yeah,
of
it
it.
has this same thing on the inside. It just doesn't have the flow.
God, I thought this was the one that was just a giant, like just an
Nope,
open.
this one has the same exact.
Okay,
Yeah, and it's
better
actually
then.
all like V'd together too, so for airflow and stuff, it'll still, you know, distribute the air evenly across all of it.
The fact that you guys already, I mean, you're fully welding up the manifold at the moment.
Yeah, 2 days, you built the whole damn manifold.
Long radius 90s and then short radius 90s because they don't sell 45, so what you do is take a long radius 90 and you cut it in half and you make it into a 45. So I got my first runner all tacked in place. Yeah, billet, so it'll match all the other billet bits that we have in there. So look really good.
Single largest task remaining in the engine bay that need to be done.
Yeah,
There's a lot of like questions around it and getting everything to fit.
Yeah,
so the fact
everything
that
mattered about where that went too, because that piping has to go there. We can't do the down piping for. We have to do 2 wastegate dumps.
And everything had to be
wastegates.
mocked up with the cross member, the steering shaft, the steering rack, and everything in place already, because everything is a factor over here because it's really tight to where we were able to run it. So even the wastegate locations were tight.
Yeah, having everything in that corner. Even originally when we started throwing stuff on, we're like, ooh, it's gonna be tight in here. And we have the upper and lower on here now. This is FD upper lower, or actually the lower, I believe is S5, but it's a stock FD upper that we sent out to OMD Parts. So they plugged up any lines or vacuum that we didn't need, and then also shaved it down. And OMD Parts made us a custom spacer. This is what we were needing to clear our starter. Since with this adapter, it basically sits the starter right on top of the engine, and if it didn't have that, this would have been hitting. So they mocked that up and made it out of billet, and then they also sent us brand new fuel rails. Shout out and thank you to OMD Parts for getting that to us really fast, and he made this whole heat shielding
Yeah, and there's a
around
foam
it as
piece
well.
that goes between there as well that keeps even more heat out of the intake. And we're also going to get some cool stuff from Funk Motorsports to help isolate all the heat and everything from the downpipe and the turbo blanket and the wastegates and everything. Just because we're on the steering rack side of things, we don't want to cook the steering rack and the power steering lines.
And this means we're doing an electric water pump. I've had a lot of luck with that in the 3-rotor car, so I knew I wanted to do that for this. And it makes it look a lot cleaner. Oh my gosh, you're almost done. A lot of stuff to pack in that one corner.
The lengths of the runners are within a ½ inch of each other. So they're almost exactly the same given the space that we were working with.
This is what I was most worried about, fitting everything in that tiny
Turbo nice
space.
up and on display too. Like we didn't want to, you know, hide it down too low. So this one right now
You
has
mean
the
it's not
2-inch
this
adapter.
high like my 3-rotor car?
I mean, it can be if you want.
Good. I can put another runner on
Put a
here.
little extender on there if you want.
This is like, in my eyes, this is a tuck turbo setup. Like this is nice.
This one right now has the 2-inch 90 welded on it, but we're gonna go with the 2.5 inch, which actually you can see it flares up here. The 2.5 comes off of here. It'll be a little bit shorter than this, and we'll be able to tuck that kind of up into this corner, and then that pipe, like I said, will be super short.
So this is a G35 that's going on my street FC, so that's why I was already cut and welded.
You should have seen this. We had that engine support bar across here, just dangling the turbo up while we were trying to figure out the position with a bunch of zip ties and tie wire. And
But yeah, we got the turbo sitting in a good general position, far enough from the strut tower, kind of splitting the difference for where the downpipe is between our strut tower and the heat shielding on our intake manifold.
I mean, this is amazing. This is like such a huge part of this entire swap and figuring everything out. The fact, I mean, you're done.
Yeah, I got.
This is nice. I'm learning I should just leave more often. I mean, I'm going out of town again for another 2 weeks.
Yeah, we got some PTFE for you.
Oh,
Don't
yeah,
go
you guys didn't
nowhere.
forget about
No,
that.
we didn't forget.
I was hoping that
We
might
didn't
have been one of the
forget.
things that was already done.
in addition to that, I also did your the whole radium drop-in fuel surge tank over here.
I just see Chris bent over. I had to come take a look. His elbow is deep.
Radium unit, dual tank with a surge, and then there is a separate bracket for a lift pump, so that way you don't starve fuel. Also, the siphon feed from one side of the tank feeds into the top of this, and that lift pump actually feeds straight into the bottom of this, which is pretty awesome. I'm just waiting on the one fitting here for the pump out, and then I'll put it in there, attach the lines, then secure the tank up in the car, because it's much easier than trying to feed this up and around while it's in the car.
Yeah.
So you have 2 DW pumps inside the surge tank, and down in the bottom here there's a 3rd DW pump that actually feeds up and gives fuel to the surge tank. So not only that, but you also have a siphon tube that feeds over from down here, pulls fuel in there, and then there's also the return line from the engine that feeds back to the surge tank, so you'll never have fuel starvation issues.
We found this from Radium, and it's really nice. Is it's a drop-in stock tank surge setup, which is amazing, with 3 DW400s on the inside.
And not only that, we were also able to incorporate the factory fuel level sensor in there, so you'll have a working gas gauge. So you're not like, do I have fuel? Let me just go put some fuel in.
That's so huge. With all the race cars that don't have that, it is such an important thing to have.
Yep.
Just not second guessing yourself. With the 3-rotor car, I basically go through a gallon of fuel per lap, and I'm just there idling. And if it's a really long wait before my lap, I'm like, will I run out of fuel? Just idling, just sitting here.
Yeah, the Corvette probably drinks like 4 gallons of fuel per lap.
Yeah, Corvette's great. I can run that thing usually all day, but
Really?
the 3-rotor, compared to the 3-rotor.
Okay.
That's what I'm comparing it to, because we have a huge pump on the 3-rotor car and the tiniest fuel cell. It's I think 8 gallons, but I don't have room to put in a fuel level gauge. But when we redo that car, I'm getting that and a much bigger fuel cell.
Now we can move towards the interior of the car, talking about the wiring and stuff going to the fuel pumps. We have your GCU. We made a mounting bracket there for that's the gearbox control unit for your DCT. And then Donnie made this aluminum bracket over here for all of your cool Haltech stuff. So for the PDM and for your Haltech Elite, that's going to be running this one.
Damn!
So chassis harness, everything except for the forward portion is done. You can see I used the black loom where it's going to be underneath the carpet, and then I used your nice spicy colored loom and everything in the back here. All the nice bright neon colors, and that's all of your powers and grounds for your fuel pump. That's your tail light harness that goes back there. We are missing the tail light sub harness for the S15 lights. So there's a sub harness that actually connects to all the bulbs, and then it has one connector that comes off.
Did you find the lights?
I did find the lights. They're already installed.
You have a boyfriend
Well, I
that
say
probably has a
installed.
bunch of taillight sub harnesses from running an S15 and FD. So.
Yeah, I know where the stash is, so we'll just pay him a visit.
So the only thing I haven't completed wiring is the forward portion of the car, because we have to get all of our component locations, you know, fans and power steering and everything like that. All of the wiring here, I still just have to loom this and clean it up a little bit. This is all done now, so accessory on, we'll turn on your ECU and your PDM, so that'll give power to everything in there. Still will crank with the key, so you don't have to use a touchpad to crank it.
Sick.
Headlights, wipers, turn signals. I even put flasher relays in here, so your turn signals will still act like they will factory. So all of your functionality for the stock car will still work, but everything is actually relayed back through the PDM. Instead of like your typical analog where you have power going into the switch and then you have the power going out to whatever it's powering, I grounded where the power went in, and then the output actually goes to the PDM. So when you turn this on, it sends a ground signal to the PDM. That ground signal will tell the PDM to turn on your headlights. So that way it's still incorporating everything into the PDM. If there's ever a failure, you don't have to worry about anything being hardwired. You'll always get the warnings and everything like that that'll tell you if there's a circuit failure.
That's awesome. That was one of my biggest requests. I know is annoying. And like, can you just use a touchpad? But I really want, most of the interior is going back on this thing. And I will be likely driving this on the street quite a bit. So having it feel stockish and still keep as much functionality as possible was really important. I'm stoked.
Yep. Talked to our buddy Andrew over at Haltech, who does a lot of the customer service and like wiring information. Johan talks to him all the time. Super helpful, helped me get all the general stuff figured out for using the stock inputs to trigger the PDM.
And between all of this and the manifold, I feel like those are the most timely things. Between the wiring and then a fab project like that and the fact I'm coming back and they're both done, that's huge.
Chris is going to show us a cheat code, or in his words, a lazy man way to eccentric twist.
This is not concentric twisting by any means. This is
just
literally just twisting wires together.
Okay.
Because you see how long this harness is? About 16 feet. So I just need this to kind of hold itself together. So I'm just going to give her the old...
So how much less time did that take?
a frustratingly lower amount of time. Oh yeah,
we already have full engine harness from Haltech. They got that together for us. They sent it over. I mean, I feel like we could make a lot of progress on this thing over the next month.
Absolutely. We just have to get a list of all the parts that we need to get, stuff we're missing, and then we get everything in place and we kind of figure out component locations, make mounting brackets, and then I can finish the forward portion of the wiring.
I love all the bright wiring loom.
Yeah, I saved all the...
You'll start to see that more
and
often.
then
I started
you got
to get
your
the
Collete Davis racing heat shrink.
Davis with your numbers and everything on there.
A House of Pre heat shrink, love it, with the bright colored wiring loom. Shout out Wire Care. I'm basically putting together a big Collete spec Wire Care package that basically has all neon color loom, bright color heat shrink, custom branded heat shrink, all of it.
Speaking of which, I saved the brightest colors for your engine bay because I figured you would want them. So like the hot pink and the neons and like all that's going to be in the engine bay.
Aesthetics matter, even in your wiring.
Yeah.
Visit wiretear.com. Wow, that's so huge. I mean, you're mostly done welding.
I have the hot side of the intercooler piping and then the exhaust. And then after that, almost all of the fabrication's done. Minus, I gotta find 2 places for transmission cooler and power steering cooler, and then the shroud and fans. Now give us another car to build. We're almost done.
Hold up.
It's like once the fab work's done on every car, I'm like, all right, I'm ready for a new project, boys. Let's go.
Because like this car's got a lot of progress. The other cars all work, so now you're just good to go.
What?
Your other cars all work, so
Dude,
you're good.
Donnie, we got the 3-rotor car and the Corvette ready to rip. I haven't posted that video yet. Hopefully by the time this one comes out, you'll know what happened to the C6 Corvette rip to that thing. I don't have a bash bar anymore, right?
No.
That thing's gone.
That's gone.
Thank you guys. This is so awesome.
Yeah, no
wow. I would love to see all the powder coating stuff starting to go back in. Even like already looking underneath and seeing the pop of pink.
That really reminded me, you know, Barbie just came out last week too. And then you have the Barbie
I've been
car.
on that Barbie train
Forever,
yeah. Right now,
Yeah.
now everybody got a Barbie car. It's fine. It's fine.
Yeah, I saw this
that
pink.
car
Like,
probably sells some real good money right now.
Right? I just capitalized. List it now. I am going to see the Barbie movie with my Barbie car.
you gonna dress Adam up like Ken?
I am. Actually, no. He's wearing all pink.
Even
I'm just
better.
gonna put head to toe in pink. We're gonna take the Barbie car. Oh my God! Have you seen that lens? I bet it's giving me a glimmer glass effect. No, leave it. It's just all this glitter. Do you see that? Look at it.
Still, you stop taking.
Oh, it's glittery.
So the glimmer glass is literally like you pay for a lens that just has all that stuff on it. So it kind of like catches light and looks like all bokeh and stuff. Obviously, this is a lot to take in. We went over a ton of updates. Y'all killed it. And now we're in a super, super good spot for this build. So in the next video, what do you say? Maybe work on putting everything underneath the car?
Yeah.
Suspension on, BC
Get her a
Racing
roller
coilovers.
again.
She might become a rollover. She might become She might become an official roller in the next video, and then the next video I'll also reveal the ankle kit that we're going to have on the front of the S15. That is it for this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.